And hello, all my cruising and travel friends. It's Rob here from Cruising on the High Seas and Travel. Give me a second, I'm just readjusting the camera. There we go. In tonight's live stream, we are definitely talking all about how to get down to the cruise port. And there are many typical ways. We were just waiting for one guest, and hopefully you guys can all hear me, which I can see him in the basement. So give me a thumbs up if you're good to go. All right, and how are you doing tonight, Jeremy?
I am well.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, you're good.
The microphone's working, so I just hooked it back up to the computer. So, like I mentioned, we are talking all about getting down to the cruise port. I like the way I like the city. Let's move the camera here. Hopefully the camera's better.
Angle it down a little more.
There we go. That should be better. Yep, so like I said, we're talking all about getting down to the cruise port. So like there are many different ways, but when you go cruising, how do you get down to the cruise port?
Okay, it all depends on if I am driving in, Ubering in, or flying in. I know in most cases, you're coming from Canada, so naturally you'd be flying in. The most memorable one that I had is whenever we went on the celebration out of Miami. Okay, we found this wonderful place called the Hampton Inn Blue Lagoon. But about 6 or 8 months prior to us flying and sailing, what we simply asked the hotel was, do you offer rides to the cruise port? You know, because a lot of times these hotels in the cruise port cities are going to offer this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about Galveston because most of the time, I'll just either Lyft across town or taxi across town and just jump on the ship. We don't stay in hotels or anything like that because we live here. But in Miami, what we did, we called them and they said, yes, we offer transportation to the cruise port. I said, okay, what about transportation from the airport? And they said, yes, we offer all of that. So that is one suggestion that I do if you're cruising out of Miami is to stay at the Hampton Inn Blue Lagoon. It's right there by the airport. You get you a good night's rest before the cruise, and for $20 cash, we got a ride, one of the big transit buses that has room for your luggage and everything.
Yep.
Luggage and everything went to the cruise port for $20.
That's a pretty good price.
Yes. And so when cruising out of Miami, that's what I suggest. I cannot recall the name of the place that we stayed at in Cocoa Beach, but it was this nice little place that offered the same thing. We stayed in Cocoa Beach, but they came and picked us up in Orlando at the airport. So even though it was an hour or, an hour and some change away, they still made time late in the day at 11 o'clock at night to come and get us. And, we had a group with us. So naturally, we had a group with us. We were all coming from 3 different cities. We all ended up at the airport at the same time. So he was able to pick us all up, go to the hotel, and then the next morning, that big bus that was in our vlog for the Mardi Gras series,
Yep.
it was that bus that took us to the cruise port. And a lot of times they're only going to charge you about $20, especially if you're in Port Canaveral or Miami. I suggest that anybody do that. Check with the hotel that you're staying at. If they don't offer transportation services, you may want to find a different place. But Miami, Hampton Inn Blue Lagoon is the place that we stayed at. It has a a grocery store right across the street from it. You can just walk to the grocery store and get what you need right before you get on the cruise ship. If you're cruising,
Nice.
yeah, if you're cruising
Very
Carnival, you can pick up your wine there. You can pick up your sodas, whatever you're bringing on, and it's within walking distance. There's no other transportation that needs to be figured out.
Yeah, like for example, when I did the Galveston, not Galveston, New Orleans trip,
Hmm.
we actually Ubered it into it because it was literally just across the bridge.
Right.
So it was a nice, cheap ride across. But for the other ones, we normally will get the cruise line to transit us in because we're coming right in from the airport.
Hmm.
So the cruise lines, they also offer transportation to and from the airports.
Yep.
And it's big coach buses.
Yeah. That's what we did on the way back to the airport. Is we paid Carnival for a one way back to the airport,
Hmm.
and on both in both instances, which we know is only like $38 or something like that. It's really cheap if you do it that way. But I do suggest that if you're coming in the day before and you're staying at a hotel, ask that hotel, do you offer transportation services? And a lot of the times in these cruise port cities, they will say yes. And that they'll say, like we had to keep a little ticket that was given to us from the front desk for the next morning and be on the schedule at a certain time to go to the cruise port.
Okay.
So, yeah, you got to pay close attention to what the hotel says as far as getting yourself to the cruise port.
Yeah. But anyways, let's welcome on in people into the chat. First up into the chat was Cheryl from Cruising is Fun Anytime.
Hey, babe.
How you doing? Followed by Bill from Bill Most Strong Adventures. Hello, Bill. And then our friend and yours, Nightbot.
Nightbot. Mm.
How you doing, Nightbot?
Yeah, I'm glad he made the show.
Oh, I'm very glad he makes the show. He pops in every now and then and drops some important information for you all. Yeah, but no, like I said, like there's many great advantages, and every cruise port naturally they have cruise parking. Now I
Mhm.
don't know much about the cruise parking, but I know you definitely do.
We drove to New Orleans, okay, and cruise parking at the port is what we chose to do. The rate was a little high, but it was so easy getting into that parking garage that's what I did. The ease of it. You pull in, and immediately there's someone there to take your bags. You don't have to roll your bags to the people. That's the first thing they do whenever you get in the parking garage. I thought that was kind of neat. And because we got there so early, I'm not sure, but it was parking right around that first corner, in the corner with a big wide spot. Now, I generally do try to park in the bigger spots if I can find them, because cruise passengers are ready to party. They're not exactly focused on parking very well. We used to take the car to the Galveston cruise parking, and we even suggest easycruiseparking.com whenever you book your parking in the Galveston. And so we did that a couple of times, and we started hearing stories about people's cars getting broken into, or you know um, somewhere it had flooded, and a bunch of people's cars got flooded. So I think that the parking garage being right up next to the Carnival Cruise Terminal in NOLA was genius, because not only can you park up high, but there's probably somebody watching your vehicle in that parking garage as well.
Correct. And with it being up high, less chance of it getting flooded.
Correct.
So
I do live in a hurricane zone, and it becomes real to me whenever you hear these stories, because clearly they're all going to be on the coast because you can park a big ship there. So when weather comes, when you're out sailing and everything, while you can't control it, you definitely can park your car up high enough, and so that at least the flooding problem won't happen.
Correct. And of course, that's one less thing that you want to have on your mind
Right.
while cruising, like knowing that there's a hurricane coming through
Hmm.
while you're out in the middle of the sea or
Or even in
somewhere
tropical,
out in the Caribbean or somewhere.
yeah, or even a tropical storm. Those are better rainmakers than hurricanes.
Hmm.
They really are.
They definitely are.
As
But
far
yeah,
as your Ubers and Lyfts, they're pretty good. If you are coming into Galveston, chances are you're going to be riding with Houstonians to Galveston. If you if you do somehow get here and you Uber or Lyft around town, you're going to get locals. Local people are on island time. Sometimes they don't get up and get logged in until about 10 or 11 in the morning, because that's when most things open here on Galveston Island. We're late risers, and that's just the nature of island time. So keep that in mind whenever you're dealing with Uber and Lyft, especially on a local basis whenever you visit cruise port cities.
yeah. Like for me, whenever I do plan to visit Galveston to go on a cruise,
Hmm.
I would even consider. I think it's called the Harbor House.
Harbor House is convenient, but I would say that it's overpriced.
Overpriced?
Yes, it is very much overpriced, especially during the busy season. During the busy season, I believe someone said that it was like $430 a night. Now, if you in high season here in Galveston, you're going to at least expect to pay 150 and higher. Okay, in a general sense of the term. But if the closer you get to the cruise port, the more expensive it's going to be.
Hmm.
So what I suggest, that where everybody stays really, is the Wyndham by Wingate. It's located at 14th Street and Seawall. I personally have stayed there before. It's a nice place. There used to be a Denny's until it burnt down while we were on Booze 1.0.
Yep, I remember you telling me about that.
Our Denny's burnt down, but next door to it is also a Saltgrass Steakhouse. So you can get nice, good night's rest, and then you run on over to Saltgrass, whatever, eat you a steak, and then next morning jump on the ship. It's a good time, and plus they got really, really good rates,
Yep,
even in the high season. And if you want to take a lift, I believe it's what, $7 to get to the cruise terminal. It's very close,
yep.
so you can save a whole lot.
So what's where the Denny's is now? Nothing.
What is it?
Where Denny's was nothing.
Yeah, it's a parking lot with a flattened out slab. They
Ah, so
they tore it
so
all down and took it away.
so no chance for a Bucky's to go in there.
Not a Bucky's. There's not enough room for a Bucky's where Denny's used to sit. I'm hoping that they're going to build another Denny's there, because it burned down. Now we have no Denny's. So we do have an IHOP though, but it's way at 53rd Street.
Yeah, but like we mentioned, there's many great options, and no matter which port you're traveling into, there are even trains that you can even take
Mm-hmm.
to get you at least close to the cruise port.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we were discussing Brightline yesterday,
yeah,
and Brightline. If you're going to Florida, Brightline is definitely an option. I hear that they are building an extension all the way to Orlando. It's already been approved and it's underway. It's
yeah,
being constructed. But a lot of your cruise port stops already have a Brightline train, and we priced it yesterday For $38 US, you can catch a ride from Fort Lauderdale all the way down to Miami. And that's also where the cheaper plane tickets go, from what I understand, is straight into Fort Lauderdale. And then if you want to finish out on Brightline, it's another hour ride. You can take a little nap or, watch a movie, whatever, kick back, relax, and take the train.
Yeah, like I said to you the other day, it was cheaper for me to fly into Fort Lauderdale and come back out of Miami.
Yep.
Just for some strange reason, it wasn't cheaper for me to come back out of Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
And the timing wasn't the greatest to come back out, but to get in, cheap.
Yep.
And I also heard that they're also expanding even out to Disney World eventually.
Perhaps.
So,
there's a Facebook user in the chat.
Yeah, I see a Facebook user. Welcome on in. And they're saying if you need transportation or excursions in Jamaica, feel free to send me a message. My company is
Irie
Travel Tours and Transfers.
Yep.
So if you're ever heading off to Jamaica, give them a reach out and see how they can hook you up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like, would you ever have you've done Uber before because you did Uber for the Prima, right?
Yes, that was my first and only time doing Lyft to the Galveston cruise terminal. All the other times we drove, and then I took a taxi back. We jumped into the van and went ahead and took a taxi home.
But that was after the Prima.
After the Prima.
So you didn't Uber back home?
No, I didn't feel the need to wait on it. Plus, there were drivers already there, and it's like the rules to Uber and Lyft are very different from taxi drivers. You can hail a taxi. The drivers are not supposed to be out of their cars soliciting business from cruisers. They're not supposed to do that. I expect that from a taxi driver, but not from a Uber or Lyft driver. It's always best to go ahead and go through the app and do it the correct way, because with Uber and Lyft, you never know what you're going to get. Taxi drivers have to apply for special licenses and follow different rules.
Correct. Even with us at the airport, they have to go through the app,
mm-hmm.
and we have a special section for them to come into,
mm-hmm.
like to pick up and drop off.
Right. They're just supposed to stay in their cars.
Yeah. Now the only time they can get out of the vehicles is to help you in or out of the vehicle if you need help, luggage, all that fun jazz. But
sure,
they can't just sit and say, "Hey, come with me. I'll take you for a cheap price."
Right.
Because you never know what you're going to get. So
that's a regular person with a regular car with a regular Class C license. They are not being overseen by anything except for the GPS on their phone.
Yeah.
So everybody be safe. That's what I'm saying. Like, definitely work it through the app. Do what the app says. The driver is just like you and me.
Yep. And the one safety feature I always have put onto my app, and I've had it all the time when I was down doing NOLA, going down to Bourbon Street and all that stuff,
mm-hmm.
is as soon as I got into the vehicle, I had to even give a PIN to the driver.
Right.
So it identifies that I'm in the right vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last thing you want to do is be heading in the wrong vehicle.
Yep, absolutely. These apps are designed to keep us safe.
Yes, they are.
And that's I've always trusted cab drivers. The cab was was a little more trustworthy than a Lyft driver flagging me down. Plus you got your family with you. You don't want to have to run into a situation. It's like, hey, you got to start asking questions.
It's like, should we have turned there? Should we have not turned there?
Right, because I live here, dude.
It's kind of harder to pull that on someone that is a local, but
Right.
if you're not a local, they can pretty much get away with anything.
Yep.
You don't know nothing.
You don't know anything, yeah. But
So,
yeah, safety is definitely something that everyone should keep in mind when traveling through the cruise port and also from the cruise port as well. Um, a lot of your cruise ships are going to tourist towns as well. There could be locals posing in those Uber and Lyft spots. Won't even work for the company. So, like, just be absolutely careful. But I do trust the taxi a lot more.
oh, by far, even though they might be a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
it's still worth it.
Sometimes it's less. It all depends on how far you're going. Now, if you're going back to the airport, get an airport transfer through the cruise line.
Yeah, for the cruise line.
Get an airport transfer back, because your average Uber or Lyft to Hobby Airport, from what I understand, I've never paid it myself, but it's about $75. If you get an airport transfer through Carnival, it's $38 one way. So, I mean, just do the math. You save a whole lot, and plus you got the peace of mind that they know where they're going. They're not going to do anything nefarious,
Yeah, the only way it would be cheaper for you if you have a whole flock of people. But even still,
Yep.
it's best to go through the cruise line because everything's all arranged and they're out there waiting for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because like when we got off of the Glory and got through customs and all that stuff with CBP, the bus was literally standing right there for us. We just put our bags at the door and they threw it on and on we went.
Now, at Port Canaveral, there is another service that I failed to mention earlier in the show. It's called GoPort.
Yeah.
And not only does it include your transportation from the airport to the hotel, it includes the hotel, transportation to the cruise port, and transportation back to the airport for one price. You could book all of that using GoPort. And a lot of people use it, and I see why. It is so simple because they know that you're going to need a spot to stay. You're going to need a ride everywhere you go. So they got you all covered from start to finish.
Correct.
So, yeah, I did forget to mention GoPort in Port Canaveral.
Yeah, like I have yet to try out GoPort to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But they sound phenomenal.
They are. If you go in at a Port Canaveral, then they put you real nice places to stay by the airport, and then what they'll do is they'll give you a ride to the cruise port in the morning, and then after your cruise, naturally you got the big bus going back, and there is a special area for GoPort customers as well. Whenever you get off of the cruise ship, you go straight to the back of the parking garage, and there they are by themselves. It's a special bus just for the GoPort customers. Otherwise, you got to make that left. I didn't know that. And so I see the sign for GoPort, but where's the sign for everybody else? There is very little direction in Port Canaveral as to where to go to get on the airport transfer. I had to ask like person after person after person, where am I going? It was very little signage out there is what I mean at Port Canaveral. Cruise Terminal 3 is where Mardi Gras comes in at.
Okay.
So yeah, it was confusing for me. But if you did GoPort, there's big signs that say GoPort, come here.
Yeah, no, like back in 18, when I went on the Dawn, which is another Norwegian ship, one of my nieces forgot their teddy bear inside the transportation vehicle. Luckily, we got the exact same person on the way back home
Mm-hmm.
because it was arranged transportation, not through the cruise line, but they held on to it and gave it back to us, which was phenomenal. And they stayed in contact with us the whole entire way, saying where they're going to be. So that was like phenomenal. And then, of
Yep.
course, the following year, we had the unfortunate issue where the ship actually hit the dock. So they rearranged our transportation.
Mm.
I also know some more people have jumped into the chat, so let's welcome them on in. Welcome in, Nick. He's saying it's 64 days until I get to Canada. I'm going to take the Amtrak Maple Leaf from New York City into Toronto. I want to cross the border by train. Yep, and I didn't even know that there was a train that did cross the border.
Mm.
So once you do that, Nick, let me know, where do you do customs? Is it
Right.
done here on the Canadian side, or do you do it on the U.S. side? But I'm going to predict it's going to be on the Canadian side. And next to follow up behind that is our friend Najuma Brown.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
You want to give them balloons?
If it works for me.
That's a regular webcam. You would need the camera built into the device.
Okay.
Right. It only works on the devices with the cameras built into them.
Oh, okay.
And Nick left a comment.
He, right here. Okay. The Canadian do customs at the Niagara Falls train station. Okay. They take us, get off the train, and go into the building to clear customs with dog questions and boarding. Okay.
Nice.
And then and then they reboard. That's nice. Yeah, because I never heard tell of the Amtrak coming into Toronto. I thought maybe it was like the Via Rail that does that.
Sounds like a chance for a good vlog from Rob on with cruising on the high seas and travel.
And travel.
Yes, sir.
Yep. I may have to give that a try because I have done the Amtrak before.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Virginia. Richmond, I think it is. For the auto train.
Yep.
And that was pretty cool. But for sure it will be on the bucket list for myself to give it a try. But I look forward to seeing Nick coming to Toronto
Mm-hmm.
to spend a few days, and then he's actually heading off to the land of Down Under.
Ooh.
Yep. So he is going from Toronto, taking a 4-day, 4-night train ride out to Vancouver to board an Air Canada plane, if I'm correct, off to the land of Down Under.
Nice.
Now, I'm not a big fan of Air Canada, but they're a decent airline. I will put that much.
Cool.
But it doesn't beat your Southwest.
Southwest, they got a real good idea. Include the bags, because guess who's going up on bag prices in the United States? Everybody. One of them did it. It's like, we're going up $5 next day. Different airline, same price, $5. Next day, different airline, same price. Everybody's going up on bags. So Southwest does really have it down. I love them.
Yep. And Nick is saying, I also get 3 days, 3 nights in the Montreal. I'm traveling business class on the Via Rail corridor train.
Nice.
Yeah, which is a very nice train. I was actually looking at that train a few years ago to do a weekend trip out to Montreal, but unfortunately, it didn't happen due to some what was it called? Protesters on the train tracks, stopping trains from going by.
Yep.
So, kind of put a squash to that, but it will maybe happen next year. We'll see. But yeah, for the main part of why we're here today is just talking all about different ways to get down to that cruise port.
Yep.
So, I've yet to try Lyft. To me, Lyft and Uber are definitely the same thing, just different companies.
Yep.
And maybe one day I will also have to try the cruise parking.
Cruise parking is good. One way to do it is to go drop your bags off first, whenever you get to the cruise terminal, and then go park in the parking lot where you're going to go, and then take the shuttle back. It saves time loading and unloading the shuttle, and it makes it more convenient for yourself and also your fellow passengers not to have your bags in the way whenever people are waiting to get on and off the shuttle as well. It's a courteous thing to do. And we did that, and we did that up until this last time when we just said, okay, we're just going to Lyft across town. We used to go drop our bags off first and then go park in the parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but for me to do the cruise parking, that would be at least a 2-week trip for me, because the week on the cruise and then a week with driving back and forth. But if you got the time to spend, it might be worth the nice drive to even try to experience cruise parking.
Yep.
But while we are also talking about cruising, let me also run a promo for a upcoming cruise in 2025. So here it is.
The Booze Cruise 3.0, hosted by Rob from Cruising on the High Seas and Travel. Ports of call: Costa Maya, Mexico; Roatan, Honduras; Belize City, Belize; Cozumel, Mexico; out of Tampa, Florida; Costa Maya, Mexico; Roatan, Honduras; Belize City, Belize; Cozumel, Mexico. Aboard the Grandeur of the Seas out of Tampa, Florida. Sailing October 25 to November 1, 2025. Book today for this amazing sailing with any travel agent.
Yes, that is the Grandeur of the Seas.
Yep.
For October 25th to November 1st of 2025. And just learned today, if you book either today or tomorrow, Expedia Cruises is having an amazing sale. So
Yep.
reach out to an Expedia travel agent or any travel agent to book yourself on this
And
amazing trip.
it's only with Expedia Cruises.
But for that amazing price is only with Expedia Cruises.
Right.
I don't recall all the exact prices of onboard credits, but it was very nice.
Yes, it was.
But I believe the suite was like around about $900 of OBC.
Yep. And an interior was $225.
Yeah. So that can for sure cover maybe some internet and at least a drink package.
Yep.
So can definitely not complain about that at all.
Nope.
Yeah. So what other advice do you give with traveling down to the cruise port?
Traveling down to the cruise port, just use, no matter how you get there, use some common sense. Number one, arrive the day before. That's the number one rule in getting to the cruise port. Why? Because you never know what could happen. Your flight could get delayed. Any one of the links in the chain could have some kind of mechanical failure, and then you need to have a backup plan, for each one of those. A lot of the times they'll ask you to volunteer because your flight is full, to stay behind or whatever. I'm not sure if you want to take a later flight, but a lot of times they'll offer extra money, so you can wait another hour or two for another flight. If you got the time and you're on vacation, so I guess it really doesn't matter. Sometimes they'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Also, if you're driving in, you could have mechanical issues with your own vehicle that you need to get worked out, flat tire, etc. And also it allows you another day to have your mind clear, if you will, to get prepared for your wonderful cruise vacation that you're about to be on. So definitely arrive in the day before. Another piece of advice that I have is to watch the weather carefully along your route, because in between June and November is hurricane season here in the South United States. And you never know when a big storm is going to be coming in. Naturally, your cruise ship is going to take off and they're going to go around that storm. But unless and also another thing too is to sign up for text alerts. Whenever you book your cruise, they're going to send you a text message, at least through Carnival. If you sail with Carnival, do you want to add this booking to your text alerts? And definitely sign up for those, because if there is a storm coming and they all of a sudden need to move your sailing, then they will let you know immediately on your phone. That's another good piece of advice I have as well. Let's see, what else? Just make sure that you're covered from your home to the airport to cruise port city, transportation to the hotel, stay the night, and then get to the cruise port and then back to the airport and then back home. Just make sure that all of that route is covered.
Yeah, definitely.
Close the chain, if you will. GoPort is a good way through Port Canaveral. Otherwise, in Miami, there are many hotels that do offer the same thing, just like the Hampton Inn. Just the Hampton Inn was so nice and their breakfast was really good. I had an excellent experience with that hotel and with the whole transportation thing in Miami. If I go back to Miami, I'm going to stay there for those reasons. especially with the grocery store being right across the street. That was so convenient, just to be able to go across the street and get what you need. Whatever you forgot at home, they got it. So it's a full-fledged grocery store. So that's why I like that location. I like that location also because they drove past the big stadium and went in the tunnel underneath the cruise ships and came out on the other side. I thought that was so cool.
Neat.
Yes, the tunnel goes underneath the cruise ships. You know that cruise the channel
Yep.
where all the cruise ships are in Miami. That tunnel goes right up underneath those ships.
Interesting.
I didn't know that, and that was really cool. As you approach it, the cruise ships are on this side. You come out on the other side of the tunnel. Ships are over here.
So all of a sudden they magically appear on the opposite side of you.
Yeah, the tunnel goes under the
Mhm.
cruise channel. I thought that was so cool. And you can experience all of that by staying at the Hampton Inn Blue Lagoon.
Hampton Inn Blue Lagoon.
Yes.
Definitely will have to check that out when I'm down there.
Yep.
To see what their pricings are like. But yeah, no, like even when you're traveling from point A to point B and back to point A, like you mentioned, make sure everything's all covered.
Yeah.
That even includes the insurance, because heaven forbid something goes wrong, at least you got the insurance to play with to help you out along the way.
Yep.
If you need to.
If you are coming in from Canada, make sure that you wait to get your soda and wine until you get on this side of the border.
Mm-hmm. It is a very good point that you need to make sure that you do that.
Yep. Because your stuff will get confiscated and not returned back to you if you buy it in Canada. That's just another good tip. I know that some people we know that happened to, very close to us.
Very close.
And also another, we were getting on Booze 1.0. Some other people that we know got their stuff stolen. Their all of their important papers, their wallets, everything was just stolen. And while that can be replaced, just keep in mind where you're staying also. Whenever you go into an unknown city, read the reviews on the area that the hotel is located in. We stayed in New Orleans. We did a last minute booking for a room. Even though we drove in, we still stayed in a motel. Okay. I hope you heard that M.
Motel.
And the price was nice, but the neighborhood wasn't so good. There was a Denny's in the parking lot. I loved it. But it's not like the one. Oh, IHOP. Yeah. That's where we ended up eating after traveling all over New Orleans, trying to find somewhere to eat. We were just unfamiliar with everything. So we ended up back at the room, ate some IHOP, got a pretty good night's rest, and then we had a phenomenal cruise. But always check out the neighborhood where you're going as well. Yeah. If a price seems really well on Orbitz, well, there's a reason for that.
There's definitely a reason. And when I was down there, I got very lucky with all my drivers, and they even warned us, especially with Bourbon Street. Make sure you're off Bourbon Street by this time.
Yep.
Because after this time, things can get very funky.
Yep.
And some of the stories that we heard was very sad.
Mm-hmm.
And
people get jacked on a regular in New Orleans, for sure.
Yep. So naturally, if the price is a good price, and it's hard to believe, There's a reason right behind it.
Yeah, there is, and it's not always good. You just got to be aware, situational awareness at all times. It's like you don't know where you are. You don't know anyone there. You just kind of have to look for people that are trustworthy, I suppose.
But
But
look trustworthy and try not to stand out like a tourist.
correct. Yeah, because you're going to nothing but tourist towns, and there's a lot of scams out there that you really need to be aware of. Leave nothing in your vehicle that is worth anything. Take all that stuff out before you leave the house. That way, your vehicle, even in the event that it does get broken into, don't leave anything in there that you're going to regret if it disappears.
Yeah.
So yeah, strip down your vehicle before you park at these cruise terminals as well, because sometimes your car is being watched, but in the event that it's not, you just want to be ultra cautious.
Yep. I've even heard tell of someone even leaving their doors unlocked
Mm-hmm.
because it's cheaper to have someone taken out of your vehicle just by them opening the door than smashing that window in.
I don't know. You want to lock up your vehicle for sure,
But
don't leave anything within sight that is desirable. That is desirable to anyone. And you should be good. My truck, it was good whenever we made it back to NOLA. But once again, we were in the parking garage. I did the parking garage once here before in Galveston, and that is more pricey than the open parking lot. So keep that in mind as well. Another thing that you can do is join if you plan on cruising out of a particular cruise port a lot and you're driving in, you may want to consider joining their little program or club, because then they'll email you coupons. I know easycruiseparking.com as well as the Port of Galveston always emails us coupons. $10 off here, 20% off there. It all adds up.
Yep, it does. And just about maybe a week ago now, if that, I also learned that down in Galveston, they even offer a special lot just designed for electric vehicles.
Mm.
Yeah. So you can just pull into that lot,
That might be the one.
plug it on in, and when you come on back, you're all charged up.
Yep.
And heaven forbid if it's not fully charged, which I don't know how that's not possible, because you're gone for at least 5 days minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be all fully charged up by then. But if not, then there's a little station off the side that charges you peanuts to charge the rest up, which is the supercharge.
Yep. And I'm not sure if it's a supercharger or not. I don't have an electric vehicle, but there is one over here at 22nd Street in Harborside, right behind the Starbucks coffee. And you can back right up to it. It is within walking distance of the cruise terminal. You can get you a coffee, charge your car, and it's right there in that parking lot in the event that you have an EV. So keep that in mind. The only other public charging station that I know of here in Galveston is right here at Moody Gardens. And that is roughly 81st Street and Stewart Road. So that's the only other public one that I'm aware of. As soon as I start seeing them pop up, I'm going to start taking pictures and sharing that with the audience, and try to keep everybody updated. I got to update myself. I haven't been around Galveston. We've just mainly been here. But yeah, I'm going to be driving around looking for ways that people can charge their vehicles moving forward as well.
Yeah, because I know, like, for us up here, they're slowly popping up.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe I was told by 2035, all new vehicles are going to be electric.
Nice.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing or is that a bad thing.
Hey, at least for breathing purposes, it'll be.
But for breathing, it's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
but the cost of the electric vehicles right now are outrageous.
That's all right. If you never have to pay for
But
gas, if you never have to pay for gasoline ever again, I say it's worth it.
but
I say it's worth it because that's one thing they can't play with.
yes, they definitely can't play with that. But you're now driving your electricity bill up,
Of course,
so it's one over the other.
you're still feeding the machine regardless.
That's exactly, and at the end of the day, even with I hear the maintenance is lower than an actual gasoline vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta take your pros and cons with everything.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
and the one thing benefit I definitely see about with electric vehicles is it actually will force you to stop for a rest break
Mm-hmm.
because you need to charge stuff up. Where with gas, you can definitely get more mileage out of it.
Yeah, you can just gas up and go.
You just gas up and go because with electric, every single little thing you use pulls electric. So you turn the radio on, that's going to pull more electricity out.
Right.
Like AC, more electricity. So it's just
I'm wondering when they're going to wake up and say, wait, an alternator in a engine charges the battery constantly. Why can't electric vehicles have an alternator in them that charges the car battery constantly? I'm just wondering. It's just simple thoughts that I have, a car that will charge itself.
true.
It's a real simple thing. I mean, I imagine somebody will come up with it one day and it'll be practical, and cars that charge themselves won't require connection to the grid. They won't require a connection and you sit there in a dangerous area. Okay. Let's just go back to the fact that you're with your car, even at the supercharger stations. People know that you're only going to be there for about 30 or 40 minutes. They get a small window of time, and a crook is going to look at it, and be like, hey, there's a sitting duck right here. Okay. Unless they're in major metropolitan, well lit areas, then you're going to be there for 30 minutes. Then you know it. So it's like you have to do some thinking whenever designing something that will be better for the people and safer for the people.
Correct.
Because companies really don't care where they put these charging stations. They are unmanned, so there's no one there watching them. People just got to be smart. That's all I mean. And anyway, I think we got way off topic.
Yeah, that's a little off topic.
There are 2 public charging stations in Galveston, and one is at 22nd and Harborside behind Starbucks, and the other one is over at Moody Gardens. But yeah, think about everything whenever you're coming into the cruise port. Otherwise, have a really good attitude about going, especially if it's your first cruise. You don't know what to expect. We can tell you about these dangers, but the main thing is get that extra day and get yourself in a mindset that you're about to have the best vacation of your life. Definitely.
Yeah. And next week we will also be talking about coming in the day before.
Yep.
Which that is a very important one, which I have a little thumbnail clip to share. If I can find it again. There it is. Oh, there it is. Yep. So we'll talk about coming in. So it could be either by train, plane, drive, however. We were talking, just plan for one extra day.
Yes.
Because you never know what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And at my work, I hear offers all the time to take a later trip. Sometimes it's later in the day, sometimes it's the next day.
Yep.
And a I'll talk more about it. What the best things to do if you do find yourself in that scenario. But for the getting yourself down to the cruise port, those are the best solutions to do. Is park at the cruise parking lot, where even with it well lit up, Uber, Lyft, however, but just plan ahead and always plan for a backup. But anyways, I'm going to start wrapping up this live stream here tonight. So I'd like to thank you all for coming on out. And do you have anything else to say, Jeremy?
No, that's it. Just when you're planning your cruise vacation, put yourself in every scenario and avoid ways of getting to those scenarios. It's like if you're worried about arriving too early, don't, because like I said, every cruise port is a tourist town. There is something that you can do in that town before taking off. Otherwise, uh, pull up, get you a book, and relax the day before and start your vacation off the right way. Get to the cruise port city, really take it in, and just imagine yourself being on that cruise ship the next day. It is so wonderful to be able to breathe, instead of being worried about whether you're going to make it to the cruise port on time, because if you don't, the cruise ship will not wait for you. The cruise ship is not waiting for you. It doesn't matter if your flight was delayed. It doesn't matter if you had a flat tire. They need to follow their itinerary to the T, and they can't wait. It's not like they're being nefarious or anything. They just can't.
Yep, because the longer they sit there, the more it's going to cost them.
Yes,
it's the same thing as an airplane.
Yep,
it's like sitting at the gate.
Mm-hmm. And
so tie up the spot.
Getting to the cruise port, you definitely want to follow that one rule: is come in the day before. And there are many reasons why. They're expecting you. Number one, they are. The hotels are expecting you. The airport is expecting you. That's a good habit to follow, if you will. If you're driving in and you live close enough, like say you live an hour or two away, drive in the day of. That's cool. But if you wrap your head around it, you want enough time to deal with any issues with your own vehicle, if you have any, then issues with your own vehicle, then you can have enough time to deal with it.
Yep, for sure. But anyways, thank you all for coming on out tonight, and I will see you all in another live stream or back here again next week. So until next time, I'll see you all on the high seas and wherever trials may take us. Bye for now.